First off, welcome. Goddamn it, welcome. Where you at? You ready?
This is the Bernie's Daughter Podcast.
I ain't scared of you, motherfucker.
The show where you get a front row seat to the magic,
Where you at?
humor, and wisdom of the late, great Bernie Mac, as seen through the eyes of his loving daughter.
I don't care about you talking about me.
And his famous friends.
Who you with, and welcome to today's episode of the Bernie's Daughter Podcast, where we are all about celebrating the life and legacy of my dad, the late great Bernie Mac. I'm so excited. Today's guest is a theater, television, and film actress with a rich and varied resume. You know her as Cheryl from In the Cut, Roberta from Z Nation, but you most know her as Wanda Mac from my dad's eponymous sitcom, The Bernie Mac Show. Please welcome today's guest, the lovely and talented Kellita Smith.
Thank you, baby Mac.
Right, because you know that's what everybody call. Like, nobody calls me by name. I've never been called Jalise by people.
You look too much like him.
And can you believe I used to try to be like, I don't look that much like him. I don't know why people say that.
Oh, please. Listen, that means you weren't looking in the mirror.
No, that's what happened. My sophomore year in undergrad, I woke up one morning and looked in the mirror and I screamed. And my roommate was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "I look just like my dad." And she's like,
Yeah, your daddy was pretty.
He was pretty. He was a pretty black man. Yes,
He was handsome. He was handsome.
Yes.
Yeah, but pretty is in the divinity of the female.
I love it. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And can I just say what I used to love when you would come visit him and how you would run to him and he would get his stance ready for you. And you would jump on him and you'd be like, "Daddy," like one without a daddy, like, oh my God. I was like, oh, this is so precious. I was like, oh, Daddy.
I love, and you know what's so funny? I never even realized I was still doing it at that age. I'm like, I was not grown.
They got everything. You had stilettos on and everything. Oh my God.
Yes. That was
it.
how I always greeted him. Yes, that was my man. Love it.
And
Love
thank you
it.
for having me and letting me share and reminiscing about him. We don't get to do enough of that, I don't. So thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Like, you know, I keep saying this to people. It's been 15 years since he, passed. And it really doesn't even seem, one, like it's been 15 years. And two, he was such a wonderful presence. I'm just grateful that people are still, talking about him and wanting to share and, just speak on him. It just does my heart good.
Yeah, he was awesome. Sure, he was awesome. If you ever met him, you know.
Exactly. Yes. I can't imagine meeting him and being like, even with all the times he got on my nerve, because he did get on my nerve. He's my daddy. Right. But even in that, those are the things that I miss. I'm like, man, I miss him being here just to get on my nerves.
Yeah. I listen. Sorry about missing him. It's crazy because he and I were the only two adults on the show. So a lot of my memories are with him. Yeah. And it's not like I can call him up and reminisce. Yeah. So it's like, damn.
Yeah.
Alicia Rashad can call Bill Cosby. You know what I mean? Keisha Campbell can call Damon Wayans or Mark, right? And it's like, okay, I better either write him a letter, send it to the universe.
Right. Do the empty chair method, sit across from a chair. Hey, you remember it?
Okay, that's good. Listen.
Yeah. No, but I completely understand what you're saying because it's like the inverse of me. Like everybody else, personally on this side of thing who lost him, they were, adults relating to him. And I'm the only one who lost my dad and I don't have any siblings. So it's not like I can, call somebody up like, hey, remember that time dad did.
No.
So I completely get what you mean by that.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the beginnings. And speaking of the show, because like you said, unlike the kids didn't know who he was. So when you got the audition for the show, what was that like?
I won the lottery. What? And I don't mean in money. I really mean that because I did know who he was and I was a fan of his. And I saw the trajectory of his career, right? And it just looked like it was a promise being fulfilled. And I felt so awesome to be a part of that, right? Because we watched it unfold, you know, most of us who was a fan of his. We watched it. We knew it was inevitable, you know, especially after the Kings of Comedy. I went and saw the Kings of Comedy with some Popeye's chicken in a box and was like, I'm about to do this. And slicking a little bit of act out. And I was like, and after leaving the movie, I was like, oh, he about to get a show. That is hands down, right? And it wasn't in the works yet, but you could feel it, you know, you could feel it. And so when I got the show, I was over the moon. It made me feel like I made the right choice with leaving home. The struggle was real, but it was all right.
All right now.
I felt really blessed. And I felt like I was on time for a divine appointment.
I love that. That's awesome because I remember when the show was in development, you know, and he would come home and talk to us about, you know, each different stage of it. And I remember when they were, you know, still auditioning actresses, and there were two in particular that I remember he was saying the networks were really like, oh yeah. And we won't say no names, but with the two, I was like, I don't, and they're lovely actresses. I just didn't see them as the right fit for the show. And then they narrowed the two down to one of them that they seemed to really be gung-ho about. And I was like, what is it about this one that y'all are like, yeah, because I just couldn't see in watching him and looking at the show, I was like, I don't see it. Don't see it. So when that passed and then he came back and he said, we got Wanda. And we all were like, well, who's Wanda? He said, Kellita Smith. And I was like, oh, snap. Yes, that's going to work. And then you all had like that. You all had already had, you know, the Things in Common, House Party 3, and Moesha. So you already, you know, had that. So I was like, okay, I was excited to see what was going to happen on the show. And I got to say, you knocked it out the park. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Listen, he made it easy. We also had the whole inner city thing, right? In common.
Yes.
I think a lot of the, our foundation was key for the chemistry because it made it easier. You know what I mean? And for me being a fan of his and actually knowing the rhythm of him, right? Because it's a rhythm about him, right? And I feel like for that character, which was the challenging thing in auditioning because he wasn't there. So I was actually reading with a casting director who happened to be female. So how hard is that? Talk about acting.
Right.
And so, you know, when you get with him, it made it just blossom and bloom even more to the point to where it, you know, he showed up on screen. It was easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people my dad was a bit of a visionary, even in everything that he did. Like even when he was doing comedy and he decided to do his own tour, he did it with a band and dancers. Like, you know, you didn't see comedians doing
macaroni.
Right. And then even with the sitcom, you know, that was at that time, you all did something that hadn't been done before. The single camera, no laugh track, you know, those things weren't done. Yes, because I remember when the show premiered, I remember people feeling like, I don't know if I can get into this. I'm not used to it. But he was very adamant that that's not what he wanted. He said, the show doesn't need a laugh track. He said, if you have to tell the audience when to laugh, then you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
So, did you when he, you know, was giving his vision for the show as you all were filming, could you follow it? Could you see what his vision was?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was for it. Listen, I was down all the way. Full flat tire. Let's go. What we doing? What you doing? Like, yeah. I mean, I could tell just in reading the pilot. I think any actress who went in for it knew it was something groundbreaking. You knew. The writing was different. The style, you could feel the style in the writing, right? In the script. And so he was genius for doing it. I mean, look at the shows that followed after, Modern Family, Blackish. Even Blackish to the point to where they looked a little copyish. They should call copy, not Blackish.
Well, sure. So many other people from the show was on. Like when you look at the credits of Blackish, I was like, hey, I know those names. Hey.
I'm gonna drink water.
Okay. So, yeah.
But yeah, it's a testament to him though, because it wasn't like it was, he had to fight for it, He kind of had to stand his ground about it. And I'm glad he did. I mean, it's a show that 20 something years later, it resonates, It's one of those shows that it will go down in history as a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I'm telling you, it just felt like a blessed day that day. I was like, oh, shoot.
Yes.
It was awesome every day, though. Every season. It was awesome. It was awesome to be there. It was awesome to do it. It was awesome to be a part of it.
I love it. Yes. What was he like behind the scenes? Because I feel like because of the characters that he played, people tend to expect him to be exactly like his characters. And don't get me wrong, there's an element of him in all of his characters, but he's not exactly what you see on screen. So for you, how would you describe him off camera?
He was generous, he was generous. He was fair, what I appreciated about him, because there was a moment where I was being excluded from some of the stuff, right? And it hurt my feelings. And to the point to where I went and got my own publicist. Because we went to the Image Awards and quick story. And they were taking the cast. The cast was being able to present, but nobody told me that the cast was going to present an award, right? And so I'm with my boyfriend, who's an emergency medicine doctor, and he just finished his residency at Howard. And Jesse Jackson is sitting behind us, and not to tell Jesse Jackson's business, but my ex actually helped him in the hospital for whatever situation. And I was kind of listening, but I kind of wasn't listening because this was my first time at the Image Awards, and I was like, yeah, we were sitting up front, so I'll try to take it all in, right? And then all of a sudden I see the kids being escorted, and I was like, oh, that's nice. You get escorts to the bathroom. This is what I'm talking about. Because I didn't know. So then all of a sudden I heard presenting the cast of the Bernie Mac show, and I was like, and then my ex said, oh, walk up there, go up there. I said, oh, this is live TV. I can't walk up there. Are you kidding me? He said, wait a minute. He said, they can't do this without you. I said, nigga, they all. They doing it. So it hurt my feelings. And so I went and got a publicist. And so I was doing some other things. And then Bernie finally said, he would say to me, come to my dressing room, let's talk. And he said, okay, what's going on? I was like, first of all, to not be included in some of the stuff is really hurtful. I worked hard to get here. This wasn't handed to me. And I want to be more included in terms of my efforts here, and part of the thing about getting a show and getting other work is part of the publicity that we get for it. And I'm a part of this unit too. And I don't feel connected. And so he said, you know what? You're right, Key. I'm going to make it right for you. He said, and I apologize. I apologize that you feel that way because you are a contributor to what we're doing. So I'm going to make that right for you. So who he was fair. Who he was he was, he would admit when he was in error, and he would always make it right. It was like he was a gentle giant. He was a different kind of man. You know, he was an era of a man that knew how to lead, that knew how to be a chief, you know, not just a leader, but be a chief. You know, this was his tribe. This was his world. And he,
yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Like, and it's the thing that I think about a lot. Why I think a lot about you all, because you all were like essentially another family. Like, you all were together far longer than you were with your own families. Like, you all saw him during those years more than me and my mom did. Like, yeah.
Well, and I would say to that, because it took the work. It took all of that in order for it to be successful, because it was so new and you were still fighting for it, you know? But yeah, you're correct. We were friend family, you know?
Yeah.
Friend family.
Yeah, family. Yes. Yeah, sure. Like, what are some of your favorite moments off camera with him? Because I asked I've talked to all the kids now who are all grown, and you know, they all have mentioned, you know, Friday nights, you know, how you go up and grind, you know.
Up and grind. Yeah. In the beginning, I used to be the bartender, but then the bartender was drinking, so. Yeah. Up and grind. You know, when we surprised him for a birthday, we were shooting episode about Chicago, and some of us got together and decided, because it was around the time of his birthday, that we decided to do a party for him, surprise him with the backdrop of Chicago and stuff like that. You know, when we came together as a unit, or when we came to celebrate anything, was truly, truly awesome. I have somebody here trying to make sure that the battery doesn't run out. There's so many great memories, you know. I remember the time when oh, there we go. I'm back. Things are happening.
Like, you're good. On my end, it's good. You're good.
Okay. You went out on my screen. So I remember the time when I realized that a lot of the crew did not. Okay. He saw me cheek on. I remember when the crew did not know of his lineage, of how he got there. And I wanted to do something nice so that they understood the magnitude of what the show really meant, not only for us, but for him, right? And so with a good friend of mine, Laura Hayes, who's a comedian actress, we put a reel together. And we went all the way back to the Miller Genuine Draft Contest. And we felt all this wonderful footage, him with his cross-colored jeans, and when he had perm in his hair.
That's curl. He thought he was fine then too.
Okay. And so I had reserved the commissary for everyone. And so we brought in big screens so that we can do it. And then I didn't tell him what it was. I just told him I wanted to treat everybody for lunch, because he would also do that too. Like, he would treat the crew and production for lunch or certain things like that. He just had a big, generous heart to get to the point of the nature of your question. And so I just remember this one time where we screened it. And as it was screening, I was smart enough to sit across from him and not next to him. So I was sitting across from him. And each time something came up that started digging way back, he was looking at me like, okay. Okay. I was like, they need to see it. They need to see it. see where you've been, how you got here, what you did. This is not by happenstance. You didn't just go to the Comedy Store and then all of a sudden this happened. This is over decades.
Yes, man.
Decades of jokes, and you ain't ran out of them. Really? That part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And speaking of, like you said, for his whole career, you know, with his comedy, we obviously can't talk about him without talking about his comedy. What is it that you think made his comedy so not just endearing, but really timely? Like even now, you know, his, like you said, 20, almost 30 years later. It is 30 years later for Def Jam, and people still are quoting his Def Jam set like it just happened. You know, people are still talking about Kings of Comedy like it just happened. So what is it that you think it is about his comedy that makes that possible for people?
It was his truth.
Good answer.
Yeah, but you know, he's a unique vessel, a unique spirit. And it's almost like, you know, how we all don't have the same thumbprint. And he used his thumbprint. Mm-hmm. He believed in it. He trusted it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, this is my least favorite thing to talk about, but we can't talk about him without talking about it. What has it been? Well, first, what was it like for you when he ultimately passed? What was that experience like for you?
Reminiscing my tissue.
I'm sitting here prepping myself now, like, okay.
No. What, disbelief, you know? It was disbelief because this is a man who you just don't think is going to ever expire. Like he was a workhorse. He was, he was part of an era that was meant to sustain throughout time. He's one of those archetypes that, you know, you should be able to reflect back upon in person. You know, he did leave some things for us to be able to do that with, but you just don't think, he was battling some things and he would come through it. You know what I mean? You already know, that's your dad.
I said this, like, even me being there, I remember week 1, you know, he was in the ICU for 3 weeks. And I remember the first week, like when I first went there and got to the hospital room and saw him and he's on the ventilator and everything. I remember saying, he ain't going nowhere. He'll be all right. He gonna recover and we gonna leave this hospital and it's gonna be fine. Like, yeah. And even, you know, going into week 2 when it was like, okay, it might not happen. I was like, I had to face the possibility. It might happen, but I was still like, no, it ain't. Nope. I was like, that old bear ain't going nowhere. Nope, he's going to be here. Yeah. So everything you're saying, I'm sitting here like, yep, because that's exactly how it felt. Yeah.
Yeah, because if ever you get to meet him, you spend a little time with him. Feel like he's invincible. He's an example of what it means to move forward, to have tenacity, to persevere, you know, to, you know, balance out the negative and find the positive. And, you know, those kind of people are supposed to stay forever because, you know, we need to be able to look upon them to be able to see what to do, you know? And so it was challenging. It was very challenging. And it was, I didn't feel like believing it. I wasn't in the mood. I wasn't in the mood. I was like, really, Megan? For real? What's really done?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And it's like, I tell people all the time, he always said he wasn't going to live to be an old man. He didn't even think he was going to live to be 50. And even though I heard him say that so many times in my lifetime, like you said, I didn't believe it because, like you said, because of who he was, because the energy that he held and the way he carried himself and how he was, in my mind, I was like, I hear you talking, but you're wrong. You gonna live.
Oh, wow. I didn't know he said that.
Yeah. His 50th birthday, I remember when I went to my parents' house and when I saw him, I was like, you were wrong, old man. How you made it to 50? And he looked at me like, yeah, I guess. So I think on some level he knew that he wasn't going to live much longer than that. But even in that, for me, it's hard to see someone like him. Not that I didn't see his mortality and his human, especially once he got sick. But like you said, it's hard to not think that he won't overcome it because he did so many times.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just difficult to think, no, come on.
Well, yeah, superheroes don't pass away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can just hug you right now. Yeah.
Oh, man. If you did, I would just lose it. I am trying. So I'm clenching my hand like, okay, don't cry. Don't cry.
I can't even imagine. I mean, especially since you had such a loving father.
Yeah.
He loved and adored you. And that is an energy and that's a gift. Oh, such a gift. And you want it forever, but you had something most of us never had.
Yeah.
What's the best? Because when a man loves you like that and wants nothing from you but the best, you can do nothing but soar. That's an ingredient. I know, girl. Listen, we better get to the next question because I'm at these lashes off.
And that's my right lash is like, if you do this.
I feel kind of at it over here.
All right, you did. I did. Oh my gosh. All right, we'll switch gears for a little bit and talk.
Okay, come on, down.
Yeah. We'll talk about you and your career. And I love this. I've heard you talk about this before, where you've said that you never knew passion was such an exhilarating feeling and how acting connected you to that passion and self-discovery.
Yeah.
And I just think that's an amazing way to put it. How did that, when did it get ignited for you? Because you originally wanted to go into law.
Okay, you better do some homework. I did until I went to Hastings Library in San Francisco and saw all of the halls of all the books that needed to be imprinted in my brain. I probably smoked way too much weed at that time to be trying to encompass any of that information. And then I got fired from 5 jobs, from 5 9-to-5s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's fine. Because a couple of people were like, you don't belong.
No.
I don't know where you belong.
It's just not here.
It's not here. It's not here. And I had left home, but then I had to come back to my mom's house for like 5 minutes. She was really giving me 3 minutes, but I needed 5. And I said, I gotta do something. I gotta figure this out. And I was 21. And I said, all right, I got a newsletter in the mail about an acting workshop. And I said, you know what, let me try. I got nothing else to lose. Like, we. So I went and did it, and I was terrible. I was awful. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The acting teacher at the time told me I should probably do something different. This started being a little theme song. I need to do something different. But what it gave me was a feeling. And at the time, at this particular showcase, I didn't know how to coin it because I had never felt this before, right? So I did another theatrical production that took me on tour. And it gave me time to cultivate what it felt like to be in this energy of what it means to be a co-creator, allowing yourself to become a vessel that gets to play, right? And so with that, it gave me a feeling that I finally had a word for, and it was passion, because I was passionate about wanting to learn more about it. I was passionate about wanting to fall down and figure out how to get back up. It didn't feel like punishment anytime when it was wrong. Just like when I sucked at this showcase, because I sucked. I was looking into the audience because my friends was there. It was just all the I understood what she meant. But the feeling was more grounded within me because it came alive. And it's a self-discovery. No one can give it to you. I knew the word. I know the definition of the word, but I didn't put it together until I had an experience of the feeling of it. And there was no looking back after that.
That is incredible, because I think there are so many people who are just kind of walking through life hoping for some sense of, some type of spark, something to ignite that within them. So to hear you talk about it, and even as you're talking about it, you can feel it's palpable, like how it's coming from you. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to aspiring actors, especially now in this age of social media where, people are, waiting for this one viral moment? You can, do something like your camera and post it in your mind, tell yourself, oh, I'm an actress. I have this many followers on TikTok. So there go.
You're right. You acting like it. I would say, you know what, you want to find something you fall in love with, and I know love is a journey, right? And so you have to be okay with the ride, right? And part of how you know that you're connected to that thing is that the ride doesn't feel treacherous, right? It feels like you're going somewhere, right? And then on your path of moving or movement, you receive certain things that validate you're on the right path. I would say that you want to cultivate. If you've not cultivated a craft, you're not that. Oh no, bing bang, bing bang bang. But and to cultivate a craft, an art form, is exhilarating. It's wonderful. It does wonderful things for you energetically, physically, and mentally. And you want to give yourself permission to find what that is, because it gives you something that no man, no book can give you. The creator downloads it to you, and you trust it and you move. So I would say that you want to cultivate a craft. You don't want to play at it. And if you're playing at it, then that's not it. But allow yourself to discover what it is. We're in a different time where things are more open and available to you. And you want to source yourself out, and don't be afraid or intimidated. If it's the thing that intimidates you, that's part of what it is.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Now, in your career, because you are just one of those women that just like oozes sexiness and sex appeal. Like it's in the way that you move. It's just like you just sitting there now. It's just like, that is one sexy woman. Wow. It's true. Like you've always have been. Have you felt like that has kind of been a detriment in your career at times? Like, have you wanted people to see you as more than just this sexy woman? Because you absolutely are. But do you feel like you've gotten pigeonholed as just the sexy woman?
No, I don't think I've gotten pigeonholed. I think those roles come to you because those are the things that people trust about you. I think, again, because it's a journey, it's for me to show what I am, what all I contain, right? And part of being an artist is you're in this discovery of who you really are, because you have to peel back the layers in order to use them, which I really was in gratitude about the show Z Nation, because they gave me an opportunity to play something different. So I got to play an apocalyptic heroine, and I did my own stunts, and I was versed in both weapons, a 45 Beretta and machete, and I trained, and I got to lead a group of people, and so those, I think, moments like those are opportunities to be able to rise to that occasion. And I think as an artist, I get them. And I think what comes across as probably sexiness is just being relaxed in my skin. And I think as women, we just have that ingredient.
I like that you said that right now, because when I talked to Dee Dee, she was saying how she's just now getting to the point where she's feeling comfortable in, her body and her womanhood.
Yeah.
And I can relate to her saying that, because that was something that I struggled with my whole life. How did you get to that point where you were that confident in yourself and your womanhood? Because not, like you said, granted, yes, that's a gift that women have, but a lot of us struggle with that.
Yeah. And I think because we're not taught that. We're not taught to embrace the vessel that you are, and really it's from within. It's not even the without part, because right now I have a fan going in the background because I'm in menopause. That part. I think it has a lot to do with, it's a journey too. So I'm on a certain segment of my journey about my divinity of my womanhood. The space that I hold at this particular time is that I have enough of a memory of a past, of certain types of moments or experiences that validated the truth of who I am. And those things are my nuggets. And I hold on to those, and I allow those to resonate and live within me. And, I think as you grow as a woman, you never want to be afraid of who you really are. You want to get into that discovery of who you are, because no one can tell you who you are, because we're unique, which is why I had to stop being mad that nobody ushered me into this menopause business. Because I was like, first of all, if somebody give me one more herb, because I feel like I'm making a cheap one. I don't know what we're doing with all these herbs. I need a pill. I need an answer. Right? And so, and I meant it. I was a little frustrated for a little while, because I didn't recognize myself down from down. Like, first of all, whose titties is Z?
Man,
girl. Listen, it's the whole spectrum of it, but it has everything to do with, now it's time for us to pay attention and not work from the head space, but now move to the heart space. And we as women, the beauty about us is our heart. But society teaches us to do certain things, or certain trauma has you close down, but really that's really who we really are. And once we get back to that and start to discover the beauty about your heart, then that's the beauty that starts to radiate out.
Oh, but man, I want to run a lap around here like, yes.
Girl, you better want a good bra.
Yes, I was just about to say that. I ain't gonna do it. Right. I'm so glad you're talking about this, because I remember after I gave birth to my daughter, I remember telling my mom, I was like, I love you, but I want to line you, my grandma, and all my aunts up in the row and just go down Three Stooges style, just pat, 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 pat. Because none of y'all told me about none of this. And like I said, now, and now I've entered perimenopause, at 45. And like you said, just my body and everything, that all the changes that went with it, I was like, what is going on? What is this?
Yes.
And it's just, and it's crazy, because it's something that we as women, we're all going through and experiencing, but it's not being talked about. And I so appreciate the way that you just said that, how it's about us, coming down here and living from our heart, because that's our gift. That is a wonderful way to look at it, because I think we get so attached to who we were, like we have these images in our mind of who we were. And for a lot of us, it's like one of my best friends is forever. I'm still 25. And I'm like, but we're not our 25-year-old selves. I'm like, dude, think back to when we were 25. Do we really want to be 25 again?
Right. No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And it's who you develop so far, and I would say to you that I didn't know at the time in the beginning of my inception of it. When you have a hot flash, that's your power surge, right? So we're moving into the grounded power we really possess. So when you have a hot flash, don't curse it, make a wish. And it's a power. That's why you hot. And your body is learning to allow you to develop what that energy really is. That's why it starts from the inside as a furnace, and you be looking at other people and they not doing that. Right? And it starts on the inside. You get to rattling, you get to, it's your power being emanated out. So what I did in the beginning, I was cursing it. Now I understand it's meant for me to make a wish.
Okay. Cause I just had my first hot flash this summer, and my daughter was like, Ma, are you okay? And I was like, no, I am not. I was like, not at all. Like, no, what is this? I was looking around like somebody was doing something to me. Like, what?
Oh, yeah. God. Giving you some power. Yeah. Oh, and the mood swings. Forget about it. The Shriner kids in St. Jude's Hospital got all my money. All of it. Yeah. I almost got 3 dogs because of the doggy commercials. When girl, it's a lot. It's a lot because it's untapped emotion, right? Yeah. And when we don't really know how to harness that, then it gets to flailing around. But if you just come to the center and trust the path of what it means to be a woman, it's a gift. We're the only species that bring other people to this planet. We are birthers. We birth with our mouth. The physical birthing of people was just an example of the truth of what we contain as women.
Now you have said something right there. I promise you, when I leave this, I'm walking away completely in a different space, because up until this point, I have been so fixated on one, how do I alleviate all of these symptoms? Yeah. And like, okay, and it's seen it as a chore, like a burden to have to deal with. But hearing you say that has clicked something different in my mind now, where I'm like, you're right. Okay.
Yeah. And the symptoms will alleviate themselves when we start to see it different. I had to get to this place. This information was not in a book. This is not something that I could go to my elders about, because they told me it never happened to them. But I realized I left home early, and I left home early for a reason. So it probably was happening and they just didn't know it, right? So we're in this generation now where information is a little bit more available, and then we get to express what we're actually going through so that we can share. And so I'm glad. Good for you.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Now, speaking of like sharing and encouraging, my dad encouraged you to do stand up.
Yeah, and he didn't leave me no jokes.
No, he wasn't gonna do that. No, he wasn't gonna do that. He's gonna have you do yourself.
Right.
Yeah. But you are funny. Is that something that you want to pursue?
Sure. I feel like I have to. I just don't know what it looks like just yet. Okay. It's because, again, this menopause, this other ushering into this womanhood, I feel service too, right? I feel like we're underserved as women. We're not really we don't have enough tools, or we don't have enough information about the tools that allows us to be able to live within the beauty within ourselves, right? So it's gonna be a little bit of, I'm gonna figure it out. But I am. I'm gonna have to.
But you're so good. Like, even just sitting here talking to you, you have a way of saying profound things that make you take a step back and go, okay. And then as soon as you say that, you can say something else also profound, but in a way with a comedic edge to it, to where now I'm laughing at it because it's like, that's funny because it's true. Like, so yeah, I think you should tap into that. That would be awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Y'all heard it here first. Okay. I love it. Okay. I can keep talking to you all day, but no, we got to wrap it up. So since this is the Bernie's Daughter podcast, we got to end it on the same note that we began. Final question for you. What would you say is my dad, Bernie Mac's legacy?
You, he was an era of a man that is dearly missed, but rarely seen. He's a class act. It's comedy for sure, but just him as the man, the man that would walk into the room as the man and as the light, right? What I liked most sometimes about him is when he was quiet. And it was quiet. Like, you wasn't sure what was growing in him, but you knew he wasn't vacant. Yeah. He was always present.
Yeah. I say that too. One of the times that I found him the funniest is when he wasn't even trying to be funny. If you just sat and had a regular conversation with him and said, in those moments where he was quiet, you knew something, it was pensive, something was going on back there, but
yeah. I miss it.
Child, listen, we need another word for miss, because it's to say a miss doesn't even encompass it. It's
we gonna create something, but he's forever with us because we did have him, and you had him on a different level. So you had the best parts of him. You and your mom for sure. Yeah. But listen, you baby Mac. You can always be Mac.
Yes, I am. And to your point about like talking and fighting about, I used to fight that for so long. When people would be like, "Oh, you're Bernie Mac's daughter," I had to be like, "No." Sometimes I would lie and say I wasn't.
Oops, that didn't work.
No, listen. The TV show Claim to Fame, they just reached out to me like a couple of weeks ago. Like, would you like to be on the show? And my best friend was like, you would lose. You'd lose. As soon as you walk in the house, everybody would be like, we know who you are.
Yeah. Listen. I don't even know what the show's about, but if it got anything to do with you disclaiming who you are.
Right. Like, it's,
you a Bernie Bernie. Look.
Can't be nothing but who I am, but yeah, that's amazing. But thank you so much, Kellita. I have so enjoyed this. And there you have it, everybody. Yeah, like, listen, there are just certain people that in the course of doing this, I knew we can't talk about my dad without talking to these people. So you were right there. Like, we can't, how are we going to talk about my dad and not talk to you and Dee Dee and Camille and Jerry? Like, we got to. So no, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And there you have it, another fabulous episode of the Bernie's Daughter podcast. My thanks to the lovely and talented Kellita Smith, and my thanks to all of you for joining me today. You could be doing anything today, and I appreciate that you joined me today on this episode. I am your host, Janice McCullough, but y'all know y'all call me Bernie's daughter. And like my daddy before me told y'all, I ain't scared of you, mother. You know the rest. Until next time, who you with?